Hi guys, it's Kiana again. Click the thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell. Bye!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You know what you're listening to or watching if it's on YouTube. Today, I've got a real special guest with me. And yeah, I say that every time because every guest is real special to me and for you guys. So I want them to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name's Lavena, best known if anyone follows me on Instagram for Truth Debates 2020. I host a weekly debate show regarding just controversial issues, a lot on relationships, a lot on kind of life events that's happening currently now, especially with the Black Lives Matters movement and just getting people's opinion. And it's like a platform where there's no right or wrong answer. It's kind of just having a conversation, having an adult conversation, hearing different opinions, hearing different views, and just kind of respecting one another. You don't always have to agree with everything, but just learning from one another, acknowledging people's different, people has different ways of life, different ways of living, and just, acknowledging that. So,
And I guess it's key what you've said. It's about listening and just respecting other people's views and opinions because we're not taught that.
No.
No. We're not taught that at all.
No.
And I think having these adult conversations now should reflect in our homes with our children and the wider community and the other adults out there.
I think COVID has taught me more to reflect on certain things. I think me as an individual, but just like how we are as people. And I think in normal day-to-day life, because we live in a busy city when everything's just on the rush, on the go, we don't really have that time to kind of have a breather and actually think back and reflect on things that we do, like whether it's a behaviour issue or whether we said something or etc. We don't really have time to reflect, where I think COVID gave us that kind of still time. I think some people are like, oh my gosh, 2020 is ruined, like can't go on no holidays, can't go this, can't go that. And I'm a person, I fly and travel and everything like, but for me, it was a time for growth.
Yeah.
And I think it was a time for reflection, a time to actually know, you know what? I know what's good for me and I know what's not good for me.
Yeah.
Like I know what I need to have in my life and I know what I need to not have in my life. And it was a way of like that transition of actually, do you know what? Like I'm coming mid-30s, like by the end of the year. There's certain things I need to do differently.
Sads out here, sad gang.
So there's certain things I need to change kind of thing. And I think a lot of people don't feel that they need to change for themselves.
Yeah.
They're always like, oh, this person did that and that person did that. So that's the reason why I'm like that. But no, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing to kind of react to that way? Why are you making that person or that situation or that job or that relationship or whatever it may be, make you behave that way? It might be something that you haven't gotten over yet.
Yeah.
You ain't had time to heal. You've kind of just gone with the pace of London, like moving. Let me just get on with it and just, I ain't got time for that. And then when you've actually had time to sit down and actually think, rah, I literally haven't gotten over that. It's similar to when you're tired, your body's aching, but you're ignoring it. And then you go on and keep going until you've fallen ill, or you end up in hospital, or you have to take off time work because of stress, because of anxiety, because of depression, because of this, X, Y, Z, because you didn't have time to just rest.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like behaving differently. You didn't have time to heal. You just went and moved on. And for me, that helped me. And that's why Truth came up about as well. It was always something I wanted to do, but I think it gave me that time to actually put it into action. Because we always say we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it's like our jobs get in the way, or we have kids that gets in the way, or certain responsibilities get in the way. But it's like, the way I look at it, COVID should have been the time to think, you need to put stuff in action.
Yeah, it was that level up time. It was that self-reflection, evaluation, and leveling up. Put into action all of those things that you said you wanted to do for years now, for months now, like forever, and always found an excuse as to why you can't do it. And don't get me wrong, like I'm at home with 2 kids working. I was homeschooling as well as doing my day-to-day job and then starting the podcast. But it's all about your priorities and the timing.
Yeah.
Like, if you really are passionate and want to pursue something, then you got to think of the 3 things. And I ain't going to stop quoting my coach and mentor, Mr. Bob Singer, like, all the time. He told me there's 3 things that if you really are passionate and you want to move something forward, you ask yourself, how much time, energy, and money am I putting into this?
Yeah.
And if those things are low or unmatched, then you've got to ask yourself, am I really interested in this?
Yeah.
Am I really giving all that I can be given?
Yeah.
And again, it's that self-reflection, self-evaluation type of thing. But thank you so much for that intro. That I was going to ask you, what was your motivation behind starting it? But you said it already, so thank you. You said it already. But I also want you to share with everyone what you do as like your day job. What is your...
Well, I'm a full-time teacher. Teach social science, which is health and social care, and PSHE, and those subjects based around like how to work with people, how to support people in the medical sense and the social aspect of it. And obviously teaching like life skills when it comes to PSHE, and then it's just like trains you up to go into job roles like youth work or social worker or youth offending team, or just a small amount of jobs that it does. And yeah, I love it. Like, it hasn't been the easiest journey, but I can happily say, like, the school that I'm at now, because I teach at a girls' school in East London.
Lovely.
I'm very happy there. Extremely happy there. But yeah, my journey into teaching was not the easiest. Like, obviously, we worked together in, like, being a learning support and working in the SDN department. And yeah, it wasn't the easiest. I learned a lot. Definitely learned a lot. But it wasn't the easiest road kind of thing. And it kind of made me see things that if you're in a job where you feel you're not being acknowledged for what you do, it's remembering that's just only one place.
Yeah.
You go to another place and they acknowledge something completely different to what your past experience was.
And we're going to jump into that. You're also a youth worker. Come on now. Let's represent for the...
Yes. I've been a youth... Oh, my God. You know what? I feel old. I've been a youth worker for, like, what are we, 2020?
Yeah.
Been a youth worker for 11 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I do youth work with majority of children, but mainly based with young people with special needs and disabilities. But I've done other projects with Wandsworth, because that's mainly where I'm based, doing, like, residentials with girls who have had like little battles with their area code, and getting them to go and do residential where they can kind of resolve certain situations they have with one another, getting them to do team bonding, etc. Also have done like little sessions mainly in Tooting Harbour and those kind of places there. So, but mainly based with special needs and disabilities. And I've also worked in Springfield Hospital, where I did manage the youth setting on a weekly basis.
See, I didn't even know that aspect.
Yeah, I worked in Springfield for 3.5 years.
Since you out here doing work, like, let's just acknowledge you're out here doing work, yeah? This ain't no, I just volunteer little 2 hours at my local youth club, and, you know, I play pool with the kids, because that's what everybody thinks of youth work. It's just about going and playing pool and table tennis and maybe a little Monopoly.
Nothing
like you're out here doing work. Like, you're building real powerful and effective relationships with the young people, and obviously the staff as well that you're working with. But you're also providing some real meaty, like, developmental programs with young people across multiple
different
environments.
Jeez,
girl, thank you.
Now, I worked in Springfield. I've worked with the police, the police cadets, with some young people as well. That was interesting. Yeah, with youth work, I've done a lot kind of thing. But again, youth work is always undervalued. It's not really appreciated. Like, they look at it as like, oh, it's just the groundwork, and it's just, oh, you go and interact with kids, and that's about it. Yeah, that's the basis of it. But there's more to it. And I think that people that are youth workers or have been LSAs, they're the ones that become the better teachers.
100%.
And simply because you've built that groundwork of how to interact with young people, you know how to speak to them, not speak at them.
Yes.
And that's the confusion that some teachers get. They speak at kids and it's like they can't understand why they're not being listened to. And I'm like, well, if someone's shouting at you, would you listen to them?
Exactly. Like, learning is, wherever there's learning taking place, it has to be collaborative.
Yeah.
It can't be, I am the master or I am the professional, you are the student, and you must listen and learn everything that I'm saying at you. And it's like somebody just standing there in an empty room and you just throwing stuff at them with no expectation in the dark. Like, you can't do that. It has to be collaborative. It's like a push and a pull, kind of a give and a take situation. You have to be able to understand your clients, like the students, and the students have to be able to understand the teacher. There's so much going on in a young person's mind, in a child's mind, that going into the lesson and the teacher saying, all right, you're going to read Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, like Midsummer Night's Dream, even though I like that.
And they don't understand the language.
Not at all. Yeah. And one thing, I guess, before I get into it, the topic that we're going to discuss is, why do I have to prove myself with this qualification, even though I've proved myself with my experience and knowledge? That you've seen it all, but now you want me to jump in through the hoops. It's like, how many hoops do I need to jump through for you as a white manager for you to see my blackness is worthy of this position? And I know that it relates to a whole load of people listening within the Black community and possibly out of the Black community as well, because, you know, this is an ongoing battle that we have as Black and brown people, that we always constantly have to prove ourselves with qualification, with just one piece of paper. Yeah. And it just kind of erases, oh, but you're actually capable of doing it because we've got feedback, we've got evidence that you can do it, but we need this piece of paper.
Do you know what, like, but even sometimes, because I've experienced it as well, your own people spite you as well. Like, you have to kind of take that into account. Like, I remember working with this older Black woman, one of the colleges I used to work with, I was doing work-based learning, and it's like in a team where we had to recruit for apprenticeships. And yeah, because I was quite good at recruiting, and the thing about me, I try and get myself in so many foots in different pies.
That's
so
that youth work
experience. Yeah,
that's that youth work mentality. I'm telling you.
You know, so I got into getting to know more about safeguarding and getting to know. I even became a governor, like support staff governor, and to kind of know what goes on behind the scenes that nobody really talks about. Like, you talk about the finance, you talk about the cuts that may be happening, you talk about, you know, what the future for that particular organization, like how is it going to affect? Those are the kind of things. And I had that experience where I actually had to speak to an Ofsted member. Wow. And I remember that Ofsted member was like challenging me, saying like, well, how do you feel that you put your input into the college? And I said, well, I do this and I do that. And the thing about with people, when I worked in that college, they didn't even really think, like, why are you not scared about Ofsted? I said, I don't need to be scared of Ofsted. If I do my job on a daily basis, what have I got to be scared about? Ofsted is only going in to check that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's just a check.
Do it.
So everyone teaches, oh my gosh, Ofsted, like, there's nothing to worry about. If you do your paperwork, if you store everything you're meant to be doing, there's nothing to be scared about. And all of these things, but with that, going back to the lady I worked with, she hated on me because I was hitting my targets. And on top of that, I was doing all of these extra additional roles to get experience. I was starting my teacher training, and she couldn't understand how I was doing so much of this work and still hitting my target. I believe that nothing is given to you more than what you can handle.
Exactly.
It's just how you manage yourself.
Yeah.
But also, like, I interact with people where she was more of like, she expected things to come to her, and that's not how it works.
Nope. It's collaborative.
And that's what it is. So, yeah, and that was from a Black woman.
And it's a shame because there's enough food for everybody to eat at the table, you know. There's enough. And if she really did deep what she was doing and observing, because she was observing that you were doing all of this stuff, She could have come and asked you, but it's that pride and it's that ego. She couldn't come out of it.
Yeah, and she was older, so that's what made it even worse. You know, you're kind of in that age where you're near enough, old enough to be my mum, kind of thing. But so yeah, sometimes your own people can spite you.
And in saying that as well, you can have the qualification and still not be enough.
100%.
So me and Lavena, we worked at the same school, and I think I had about 3 different roles in that school. The first was a voluntary role, and then I don't want to say his name because then people would probably know, whoever listens. But I was encouraged to go for an LSA role, which resulted in working in what transpired to be Excel. No, let me not say that. An exclusion centre. Even if I say that, they'll still know. Well, exclusion centre, what is it? I wonder where that is. Anyway, I had about 3 different roles. The first was a voluntary role, and I was encouraged to do an LSA role. But I kind of worked in the school, but in a different area. And then I got pregnant, had my son, came back, and then there was a situation that happened, which I'll probably share on another day, that caused me to have a meeting with the head teacher, my line manager at the time, and I was told that I would be going into mainstream to do some LSA work, you know, to get the experience. And they were mentioning all of these different things. And just through talking to you now, I'm really like, wow, they had no reason to move me from one department to another except for their own benefit. And obviously people must have been conversing before I came back from maternity leave. And that's how they decided, oh, well, it doesn't matter what happens anyway. You're going to go back into mainstream. And yet, like I said, I'll save that for another day. Anyway, I think that's when I met you. I remember just going into the staff room. And I was like, oh, okay. There's like a side room. There's like a main room, which I've always known as the staff room. The staff room used to be lit. I remember being a student at that school, walking past, and the door would open. You hear bare noise, and you'd be like, "What's going on in there?" Trying to sneak, and then you just knock on the door. Is Miss So and So in there? Mr. So and So. It's like, what do you want? Like, what you here for? And to be on the other side of the door, but then see that my area, it's like that whole. It felt like segregation. Like segregation, and like, no, your seat is at the back of the bus. And if there's no seats at the front, then you should be expected to stand up to give your seat too. It felt very removed and detached from the actual staffing team. And I was blown away by the amount of Black learning support staff that there were. And I know that I get this anywhere I go, wherever there's Black, we always somehow we come together. And then we're all just friendly to one another. And you, Lavena, were really friendly to me. Like, you was approachable, because at those times, I was still on my journey, my personal growth journey. I still am now, but I was still trying to understand, like, I'm a mother now. I'm still an adult. I'm going back to uni. I'm working. What is this? What's going on? How am I supposed to be? I couldn't work it out. I couldn't figure it out. But everyone was really warm, open, and welcoming. And it was a journey being an LSA at that school, because I noticed very quickly, okay, that's not right. This ain't right. And why is that? Why is this happening? But tell me about your journey working in that school and getting to where you are now.
Well, just echoing the last bit you said, like, I think with that school, the one thing I can say is you meet a lot of good people. I've met a lot of good people that I'm very, very good friends with to this day. So that's one thing I can say. It's got a very good community spirit about that school. So that's one thing I'll always like put as a good thing. However, didn't have always the best experience. I did learn a lot. What it did show me is that it pushed you to do beyond what's expected of you. But a good thing out of that is that when you go into a new establishment, a new organisation, you're queued up with so much different skills, attributes, etc. So that when you get to the next school, they're looking at you, wow, like, you know this, you know that, you know this. So I will never, ever take that away from that school, like keying me up with that. But that place in particular, it was always about, if your face fits, you're in. You know, if your face didn't fit, don't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter what you did, it was just never good enough. I was at LSA there for 5 years.
Wow.
And within that time, I remember going for a learning mentor role, got declined. At the time when I was there, they were doing a teacher training, and I applied for it 3 times and got declined all 3 times. I even remember applying for a deputy head of year role, got declined of that as well. So I was always eager to move up. So I always showed that I wanted to move up in the school, but just never really got the opportunity. So a friend of ours that we worked with had told me that, gave me the hands up, like, say, you need to kind of move on and do it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to give it to you.
Because you was you stayed in that school, like you were loyal too.
Stayed there.
What do you think that made you stay?
I think because one, it was my old school that I went to. I'd also gone there as well. Again, I think it was the community. Plus, when you work in a school, it's very hard. You get attached to the kids as well.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel, oh gosh, if I leave in this year, like, how is that kid going to be? How are they going to develop? Are they going to lose track? Are they going to do? And you feel you have a responsibility, but then it's like you have to. What come to learn is that every year is going to be the same.
Yeah.
You're always going to meet that one kid that you, oh gosh, like, and it's if you always have that mentality, you're never going to leave. So when you go to organisations, they're like been in the school for like over 30 years or 40 years, and you think, wow, really? One job? But then they've probably always had that mentality, I can't leave this year and I can't leave that year group. And it can easily be done. And a school year can go so fast. You might think, oh, I'm only going to do it for a year, and then 3 years go and you're still there. And you think, wow, how did that happen?
Yeah.
So it goes really fast. But yeah, it's just opportunities wasn't there for me as much. So I had to leave and go and get my experience elsewhere, which I did. Worked in 2 colleges and got experience working in 6th form. So the only thing I didn't do at school was really worked with 16 and up.
Yeah.
I worked with more the year 7s to 11s. So at the both colleges that I worked with, I worked at 2 at the time, it gave me that experience of working. And within that time, I got identified for my teaching skills.
You hear that? Identified.
Got identified for my teaching skills. To be fair, I got identified in my previous school that I worked in, but they weren't at the powers of be that could have given me that opportunity.
Okay.
And that's what it is. It would be other teachers thinking, nah, you need to teach. Or it might be, other members of staff saying, nah, you've got something. But they don't have the power to say, we're going to give you a shot. So I got identified in one of the colleges that I worked with, and they're like, yeah, you need to teach. And then I found out there was a program called the DETLs, and basically that is like another route, which is not the PGC route where you go to uni. You can actually do the training whilst you're working full time. So I did that. So I was training to teach, working a full-time job at the same time, studying at the same time. So it was just like all at once. But if I want to do it, I just had to bite the bullet and be like, this is going to be me for the next 2 years. And, because that's how long the course was. So I did that and, went to Croydon College, which I never thought I'd ever go. Because I've always heard bad reputation about Croydon College. So that was one college I never thought I'd attend to as a student. But to be fair, I had 2 tutors and they were really good. Like, I can't even complain. For me, my experience was a good one. And they could see the potential that I had. So qualified there. As much as I liked certain bits of working in a college, I knew working or teaching in a college wasn't for me. Like, I always missed being in the school aspect. So for me, it's like, my experience is a school's more organised. Of doing certain things, of structuring certain things. Whereas colleges is very up in the open, up, down. You don't know whether it's going to combine with another college. Funding's a bit, and obviously at the college when I was working at, I got to be a support staff governor. So that means like seeing what the outside, what the inside kind of looks at that you don't see. You got the little staff briefings at 5 minutes, and that's when you get little talks like, oh, the governor said this, but you literally get into it, being around the table. And I had that opportunity there. So I thought, okay, I understand and I know how this works, etc., etc. So it made me think, college is not for me. I want to go to school. So I got to the end of my teacher training stuff. I need to leave where I am to start my teaching career. So originally, when I left the school that I left, I was like, I ain't coming back. Because normally when I leave somewhere, I'm not going back. That's normally like, I've left it, I'm not going back. but something was pulling me to go back there, not because I thought I want to go there and I want to spend the rest of my career there. It was more, I have something to prove.
Your best revenge is your success.
Yeah, I had something to prove. And normally I'm not like that. I just thought, yeah, you know, I'm just going to leave it, do me, go about my business. But I thought I needed to actually prove that actually, you know what, that I can do this teaching. Because I was told, I don't even know if I told you this, that when I was at the school, the head of department of the subject I wanted to teach, which was drama at one stage, was said I would be good at a youth work manager. And I was like, At that time, I was about, what did she tell me? I was about maybe 25, 24 maybe. So I was, you know, this is about 10, 11 years ago. So I was a bit younger then, you know, and it was just like, oh, okay. And I didn't look at it as like nothing. And I thought, there ain't nothing wrong with being a youth work manager because I'm a youth work. Yeah. And that's some people as well. But are you saying it because I'm a black woman? And it's only that we're good at the pastoral side of it.
She's trying to put you in your place.
And say that you're not good enough to be in a school, but you're good enough to do the other bits that we don't want to do with. So that always stuck in my head. So that was kind of the thing that I wanted to prove. But unfortunately, that teacher wasn't there no longer, you know? But yeah, that stuck in my head. And I was like, I needed to have something to prove because I feel like that was an area where I was told that you're not good enough to do that. But I was even told that back at the age of 11 by a primary school teacher. When I was 11, a primary school teacher told my mom, yeah, Lavena's a nice girl. She's quiet, but she ain't really going to do nothing. And I was 11. You know, this white German woman telling my mom that I'm never going to do nothing. And I remember my mom saying to me, you best prove that woman wrong. So that stuck in my head and just little things. And that's what made me think, I need to go back to prove that I can actually do this and that. So I went back, surprised the head teacher. She was shocked to see me. She was shocked to see the interview skills that I came out with. She was shocked to know what I'd done because I'd left and it was like 4 years later. So I'd grown. She was shocked and she was like, do you know what? You did your thing. I have to give you respect and props and etc. And I, you know, she even said to me, like, what is your goal? What would you want to do in the next couple of years? I said, well, my goal was to be ahead of year. That's what I want to do. So she said, okay. You know, so I was like, this is what it goes. So I'm thinking like 2-3 years of teaching, hopefully by then I, you know, would have done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, first year was really, really good. Was told to, because I started teaching social science and health, social care and PSHE, so that's where I trained in. And the reason I trained in, I think it linked well because of my youth work.
Yeah.
Working with mental health, working with special needs. Plus, with drama, I could still embed it in with the social science. So it kind of, I always believe things happen for a reason.
And I just want to add, like, you're teaching topics and talking about areas that you have experience in. Now, when we start talking about youth workers should be seen as educators, like you're out here with a whole youth work experience and working on social science subjects that you have first-hand experience of delivering in and working in. So, and you're incorporating that drama aspect. Like, if all teachers, just think about it, if all teachers had that kind of experience and knowledge on the subjects that they're actually teaching, again, schools would be different. Like, the relationships would be different. It's not about, oh, I'm the teacher, you come in here, you respect me. Like, respect is earned. It's not given. It's earned.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can talk about these things with such clarity and give examples, it hits different in the classroom. It's gonna hit different.
Yeah. Because when I speak to even the students and say to them my experience of doing youth, I mean, you do youth work. So yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I do this and I do that. Yeah, I drive the minibus. You drive the minibus, miss.
Yeah, they don't expect
drive a big minibus.
They don't expect us to be driving that big old minibus.
They're like, no, for real. And I said, I worked in the mental health hospital. Goodness, what was it? And it's like, like you show to them, you can actually do different things and get to a particular way. But like I say, the first year was good. They put me on an NQT program, which is New Qualified Teaching, even though I didn't necessarily needed to do it because I had the papers, because of the route that I took, I had the papers, so I didn't need to do it. But I thought, you know what? It's experience. I'll go along with it. So NQT was very, very interesting. Anyone that's teachers, NQT is always going to be hard this year because you're new to the game, you're learning the subject more of what you're teaching, you're getting used to certain units if you teach a BTEC or certain AO if you're teaching A level or the GCSE, whatever like age group or level you're teaching that, you're learning that, learning the scheme of the work, etc. But then you're also getting around, okay, I'm a teacher now, so there's no one there to monitor how I'm doing. I'm by myself. I've got like 25, 30 kids. I got that to do this now. So, and all of that. So it's like, there is a lot of pressure on the first year because, people are watching you, the eyes on you, and they're looking for the first mistake you do, etc., etc. So in the NQT year, you have like 6 projects. You have a project each half term that you have to deliver. And there were certain things on like behaviour. I think, aced that one. There was on an SDN, aced that one. Because again, that was due to experience I've had. But there was one particular project that didn't do so well. And the reason being, during my NQT year, my head of department at the time was on maternity leave. So they had got someone new to fill in the role. Unfortunately, that person that came, he was a nice guy, but he had left after one term. He's like, I'm not doing this. He didn't have the greatest experience at school. So then what happened, it was myself, another teacher in the department that they had made lead of BTEC. So it kind of like the roles got divided. So you have head of social science and then you have a lead of health social care, lead of psychology, lead of, do you know what I mean? Or teacher in charge or whatever they may say. So it was between me and the lead of health social care that had to do 1.5 teaching role. So that year was so mad because obviously our responsibility was like, okay, we need to get year 11 through and year 13 through. As much as we teach PSHE at the moment, that can't be a priority. Reason being, like, still teaching, but priority is it's not accredited. Do you see what I mean? Whereas we're teaching health and social care, these are, students that are doing GCSE that want to go on to level 3 or A level or level 3 courses that want to go on to university. So we got to make sure that we get them through, right? So
that's already pressure,
right? So I'm an NQT, got to make sure they're on their game, and it's like it was just going into it was like the way that NQT has started, because I started in the mid-year. I started like in January. It never really started till the following September. So it's kind of like when the NQT had finished, which would have been the summer, I would have been there 1.5 years, if you know what I mean. But normally it would be September to July. So, I had to kind of make sure that get through. So basically, I wanted this year group to do really well, my year 13s in particular, because my year 13 and my year 11s, because they were my, you always have a first group, they were like my babies, especially my year 10s who got into year 11. The funny thing is the teacher before hated the class. And the reason why they hated the class, they had one particular black student that no one could manage. One particular black girl and other students. There was a couple of other students that they just couldn't manage them. But they were my favourite class.
It's always like that.
And it's bizarre. Like, they were my favourite. And even when I started teaching them, my manager at the time was like, she couldn't believe how I changed their behaviour. When I started teaching them, within a month, they enjoyed the course. They hated it before. They hated doing health social care. Not because they didn't found the subject interesting, it's because they didn't have that relationship with the teacher. And sometimes when you don't have a working relationship with the teacher, the whole experience of something can be completely different than how I taught it and how I put it across. But my experience of youth work, or my experience of things that I've done, they were like, And we did like social experiments and stuff like that, where they had to interact, they had to do things, they had to get up, had to push their boundaries. Like I had kids in there that, I had one kid in particular, she was academically bright. You know, this white girl, academically bright, but getting up and standing up talking, hated it. By the end of year 11, she was getting up all the time.
Good.
And she's like, Miss Whitney, you did that, you know, because I would have never done that. No other teacher could do that. And that's the thing, is that sometimes you get kids that may be A-level students, A-star students, but if they can't get up and do public speaking, that's a boundary you've got to try and say, well, this is something they've got to achieve. You got to get up. You want to be heard, you got to speak.
And it's key what you said, like if there's no working relationship, the teacher was clearly uncomfortable teaching. Which projected onto the young people in the classroom, because in turn they hated that classroom. They hated the subject and the experience, because that person who was there to create that space and environment and the learning opportunities wasn't even confident in themselves and comfortable in themselves to work with that group.
So
could have learned something from you if she'd only asked, you know?
Well, she'd left, so I took over, but
maybe that was for the best.
Yeah, but yeah, they did really well. Like, I got some of the best results in that year 11 group, year 13. But going back to the experience that I had, was that there was so much pressure. So the one project I had to do with the NQT, I had this mentor that was in my department, and I said to her, I'm struggling this. I never ever asked for help because I normally can do it, but this time I was struggling. We need to get these grades on for BTEC. We have to get this on for the kids, etc., etc. So me just writing something that would only take 5-10 minutes, I just didn't have that as a priority at the moment. So I said, could you just sit down with me right now for me to do it? So I said 360 degrees, like, went like, oh, this is unacceptable, this is unprofessional, this is blah, 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 blah. I was like, huh? So this is someone that was in my department. We claimed to be friends, etc. And it was just like the person just switched. And I was like, I've come to you as my mentor, as help. Like, if I didn't need help, I wouldn't ask.
Exactly.
So she went back to the head who was doing the NQT. Then I got kind of like a slap on the wrist for it, kind of thing.
For asking for help.
For asking for help, and said, oh, it wasn't good enough, etc. So yeah, fast forwarding, students did really well. They aced their grades, both year 11s, both year 13s. They got to do level 3s, got to do the degrees that they wanted to do. So I was happy with that. Anything else didn't really matter for me at the moment. So anyway, at the end of the summer, I was told that my timetable was going to change. So they said that I would be going over to teach in the exclusion part full time. So I was like, come again? In the mix of this, I have a tutor group. So I had a tutor group as well. I had a tutor group. So I said, so am I going to lose my tutor group? Yeah. I said, no, that can't work. So I had to argue my case. By then, I was job searching. And I was like, as much as I don't want to work in a college, I'm going to go apply for a job at least for a year and then find a school that I really want to be in. Didn't like the college I went to. I was like, yeah. Basically, when they knew I wasn't going to stick for this, I said, something has to give, because I thought, you want me to teach 19, 20 hours in that place, and that's it. You know, I was all doing the teacher's role, like at the tutor group, I was doing break duties, going to assembly, doing what teaching does. So you're going to take all that away from me for me to be stuck with kids that don't want to do the subject. You're telling them they have to do the subject because apparently it's easier, and that's that.
It just rings home for me, because it's like you have one situation. With your case, you asked for help in a situation that you needed to ask for help, and that you should be allowed to ask for help. And with me, I guess I'll share a little bit, but senior member of staff started having a whole go at me because of a parking situation. And I remained calm in the situation, but the next day I got called in like, oh, by the way, we're going to move you over there because we've noticed this from before you came back from maternity. And he was like, well, that's a whole year and some change ago. So how are we relating that incident to now we're switching things up and dash you over there? With you asked for help. We're going to switch things up and we're going to dash you over there. It's like they put you in your place and constantly want to remind you. And I'm saying they were white people. Yeah. The head of the school is a white woman. And the line manager that I had as well in the department that I was working in was a white man who portrayed like he was a friend. I don't even want to use the term ally in this situation because it wasn't a case of black and white then. Well, it was a case of black and white, but I didn't see it as that. And it wasn't portrayed to me as that. And he was acting like he was on my side. But that mentor for you clearly was like, this is unacceptable, and went off, rattled their mouth, and probably presented it in a different way. There's no hearing. It's like, why do I not get to plead my case? Why do I not get called and asked what happened? No, you're just going to take their word for it, these white females or males' word for it, and then that's it. Like, there's no judge, you're the judge, jury, and executioner because you heard one side of the story. That's not fair.
So, so that was one bit of it. The end of the year, which have been an year, I was told that I hadn't passed it. So I was like, okay. So basically, during your year, you also have 6 observations. You have an observation every time. And I remember out of the whole of them, I probably would have had just one bad observation, simply because it was PSHE, but it was a subject I had like no connection with. And it was just like, I was trying my hardest to find or to make it interesting, but I couldn't. It was basically on human rights. And it was just like, how am I going to make this fun for, like, with the content I have? Yeah. And that's what it is. When you're given a particular part of the curriculum, how are you going to make it interesting? You don't want me to go to that basis, but you don't want to go that basis. So how am I going to? So that was the only thing. But with that, they said, there's certain things, errors that have come up where you keep repeating, etc., etc. So we have to put you on like a mini project between now, I think, for 6 weeks in the new term to review. So with that, my pay didn't go up. Yeah. So you have pay scales in teaching, and you're meant to go up a scale every year. It didn't go up. They refused my pay scale to go up. Anyway, got into the new year, new academic year. Was dreading it because obviously I knew that my timetable would change. Anyway, by the way, I didn't lose my tutor group, and they reduced the 18 hours to 12 hours. Okay. So still hell. However, was teaching another subject, public services. So basically training to be in the army. So you know who ran that program. So yeah, that was interesting. So I was teaching that.
We're going to have a conversation offline because I'm taking that conversation, we taking offline because that is some beer. That is some real beer.
Yeah. However, I was like, just let me just do it. But I already said, if by October half term, I ain't happy, I'm going. And within 4 weeks, I'd made that decision. I weren't leaving. I wasn't going to go. The only thing that was keeping me going or staying there was my tutor group. Yeah.
That pull again.
But then it was like, it's just my tutor group that I only see maybe 20 minutes of the day, because I only see them in tutor period, because at the time they would have been year 9. And I might have taught a few of them in PSHE, and that was it. Wow. But I had a strong connection with them. And they didn't want me to go. They kept saying, Miss, you're not leaving, are you? And they didn't have the best experience as a tutor group because I was their 3rd tutor, and I had them from year 7 in January. So they had 2 tutors in one term, and I was the 3rd one in January. Yes.
Listen, when the tutors are going, yeah, that's when you know it's a sign.
So Jesus Lord, I was like, I can't do this for my soul and sanity. I couldn't stay. So let me teach the group year 10 to 11s in this place, health and social care, that none of these kids wanted to do. It weren't their choice. They were told, this is the program you're going to do. This is what you're going to learn. And that was it. So you can imagine it, I'm teaching a group of young people that some of them were into gangs. Some of them just wanted to go out to work or do apprenticeship, etc. Some were smoking. Some were sexually active, like the whole different range of issues going on. So you can tell these kids weren't interested about learning about care values
Anything.
or, nothing like that. But I had to do what I had to do. But yeah, I remember going through, obviously, this program, saying, this is going to happen, going to get observed once or twice, blah, blah, blah. So I thought to myself, so you're going to observe me in a setting where the attendance is not great, and if the attendance is great, you've got kids that are falling asleep because they're in one room for 8 hours in a day, not allowed to leave. So it's like prison.
Eating a basic dry little sandwich, maybe
go.
a fruit and some water. I remember because I technically, myself and my colleague at the time, we set it up. And to hear that they're now teaching public services?
No, that was, they let some students do that. So
it was weird. Special.
Yes.
Special kids got to do public services.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm sorry. Nah, drop me right out. Drop me right out. I can believe because I know the story.
So in now it's health social care, but they did not want to learn. They didn't want to learn it. So yeah, you had kids in there that, they just didn't want to know. They didn't want to know. Would throw stuff, would not listen, would not, there'll be times I'm like, I'm just going to sit here,
So can I ask, because I know what they were doing when I was working there in that centre.
Mm-hmm.
Were they still unofficially sending students from the school there as well as the children from the other schools?
No, it was official.
Oh, okay. Just want to check because there was quite a few times that we got unofficials.
No, it was
come through the back door, which they weren't supposed to come through.
No, it was official. I think it was more official because they had different schools from from
the borough.
Yeah, and there was even a couple of schools from Lambeth.
Oh, so, they probably were looked after.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so it was just like they're not interacting kind of thing. And some of these kids shouldn't have been there.
Yep.
And the reason why they have been there is because maybe their attendance was really bad, or these kids were getting bullied and, was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and etc. So some kids, I was like, what on earth are you here? Like, you shouldn't be here. But then there's kids, again, the education system's just not for them.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, just not for them.
One size does not fit all.
It's not for them. So I was like, I can't stay here. Like, I need to leave. Anyway, that same first term had a spoke about, how we're going to improve the observation, blah, blah, blah. And then got discovered at the age of 32 that I was dyslexic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the literacy errors that I was making was because I was dyslexic.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know. So I went through the whole school, uni, all that. Didn't know.
But let's acknowledge that you passed everything else. So technically they were discriminating against you because you had a need.
Oh, they didn't know.
What did they do once they knew?
Tested, and funny thing.
Is that through your doctors or through the school?
No, that was through the school. But funny thing is that when I got tested, the person that tested me had an incline that I was when I was in LSA. I didn't say nothing.
Lord of His mercy.
So I said, why not? And like, because basically it will offend me. But I said, how would that offend me if I have a need that it doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means I've got a different way of learning.
See where assumptions get you nowhere, yeah? And we're working with children that don't even know that they could potentially be dyslexic. So we're having to monitor that and also challenge that. But at the same time, that person in a professional position that is there to actually look at these special needs couldn't even just say, by the way, do you think that you could potentially be? I'd love for someone to tell me that because it would make sense to me. It would make a lot of sense. That's just wrong. It's out of order.
So that was an eye opener. No, I had inkling of myself, but
wow.
Like I know, if I read a text, I might need to read it 2-3 times for it to fully go in, or I might get words back to front sometimes. But obviously, I learned how to deal with it when I didn't know.
Jeez, that's horrible. No, seriously, Lavena, that's horrible. This person had a feeling because that's what they do, and they never said.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, you need to tell me because we would have sent one stick piece of email or something. Let me not even say that. Let me not. That's terrible. That's years of opportunities and learning for yourself lost. But because of the person that you are, Lavena, I know you just took it in your stride and you was like, you know what, well, I know it now.
The thing is,
and that's how it's going to...
When I know it, it erased a lot of ease. I had a lot of pressure just thrown off, and I was like, okay, so I know why this is happening. I know why I do this long. So now I know how to work around it. So anyway, that still that same time found that out, but because of everything that was going on in the centre that I was teaching, I got a lot of stress, like proper stress, proper just thought, how am I going to get this? How am I going to go through this year? And it was the first time in my life that I went to the doctor saying, I need time off work. I've never done that. Never done that. Because I'm a go-getter. I go work, but I was just, I can't do this. Like, I literally was like, I'm going to have a breakdown. I'm literally going to go mad.